Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends Podcast. The podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think different about the podiatry profession. With me today is Lucinda Mercer, and she owns Poized Podiatry, not in Liverpool. She will explain where it is, but I would need to point out it's not in Liverpool. We met at the Foot and Ankle Show in Liverpool back in February, and what was funny is when I met Lucinda, came up, started chatting to me, and she said, "Oh, I actually listen to you and Big Jim Mack on the Podiatry Marketing Podcast, and you were with this really tall, 8 foot tall guy called John." And I said, "Well, would you guys be willing to do a quick video saying hello to Big Jim Mack?" And you dove in and did it, and it's because of that video that I thought you were awesome and wanted to get you on the podcast. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and asking me.
So let's point out to people, where is Poized Podiatry?
So Poized Podiatry is in West Kirby, which is on the beach on the Wirral, which is over the water from Liverpool. So we're not Liverpool, we're fake Liverpool, essentially. The bit that not many people know about, but it's very nice. So you should visit.
So where, because I know we're in Liverpool and you had the water there. So if you're looking across the water, you're on the other side of the water.
Yeah, so the famous ferry across the Mersey, that's the ferry to go to the Wirral, or, the Wirral goes to Liverpool. That's us. So we're just over the water there from the
Who sang that
Liverpool
song?
dock.
Who sang that song? You should know.
Oh God, don't, you're going to test me now.
Yeah.
It's really old.
Something across the Mersey.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm going to have to look that up after this. Jerry something, is it?
Jerry and the Pacemakers?
Yeah, something like that.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah. I mean, it was like a hymn in our schools. We had to sing it and go across the Mersey.
Yeah, I like it. What's funny is, I don't know, for some reason I grew up listening to a lot of British music. I don't know if it was because my parents had no idea. So I knew that song really well. If we are wrong, I will edit that out and I'll put the right, and I'll go, and just to rephrase, here's the right answer. It's like when Big Jim Mack and I were talking and Jim made the comment about, if you ever want to get away from a bear, you run in a zigzag pattern.
Yeah.
I went, Jim, I don't think that's right. He goes, no, I'm pretty sure if you want to get away from a bear, you run a zigzag pattern. I went, I'm pretty sure that's a crocodile, not a bear.
Yeah, it is a crocodile, you're right.
So I said, we'll check our facts. I said, in the meantime, if anyone sees a bear, I said, my recommendation is, doesn't matter how fast you run, they're going to catch you. But we'll find out. So then we came back the next week, and Jim was completely wrong. So
really?
we apologise to anyone who had a friend or family member eaten by a bear.
Fake news.
In between the episodes, yeah. So you got to be careful where the information comes from.
You do.
So before we dive into your career, I'm always interested. What got you into podiatry?
So I always wanted to work in healthcare. That was definitely always my path. And I did work experience in every department there was. Like, I went into a hospital, I got on this great course where you literally dove into every single department. And then my dad's best friend is actually a podiatrist, and his wife is as well. So he had a practice, he still does have a practice on the Wirral. And he got me in and I just shadowed, and he predominantly does routine stuff, although he did dabble a little bit in biomechanics. And at first I thought, I like it, but I don't just want to do routine. So then I really looked up everything about podiatry, did all my research, and was like, do you know what? I can do a musculoskeletal career. If I really put my mind to it, I could go down that path. My sister was a physio. She still is. And
still is your sister, or is she still a physio?
She's still my sister. And she's a physio in Brisbane, actually.
In Brisbane?
So in Brisbane, yeah. She moved to Australia.
Oh, right. Okay. Just down the road.
Yeah.
About 1,800 kilometres, but yeah, just down the road.
Yeah, it's down the road for you guys.
Yeah.
So I wanted to watch, she was doing musculoskeletal stuff, and I wanted to go into that realm, but I didn't want to be a physio because she was. So I decided, right, I'm going to do podiatry and I'm going to go try and do the biomechanics, MSK side of things. And that's what I did. So it went well, I think.
Okay. So because in your bio, you mentioned you worked in the NHS first.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
So I've been there 7, 8 years, I think. So I was a biomechanics lead in Chester, and then I went up to the Lake District for 3 years and was an advanced MSK practitioner up there. So I will mention all of these roles I definitely got because I did a master's in podiatric surgery. And I had a year with Mr. Murphy, who's in Blackpool, and that just completely sort of it made my knowledge so much better to the
Yeah.
point where I was doing well in the interviews because I knew my stuff essentially. So that's the route I took was I did the master's straight after, and then I got into biomechanics, and then musculoskeletal side of things was up in the lakes.
So was your plan doing the Masters of Surgery? Did you want to become a pediatric surgeon or
I did at a
you did?
time, yeah. I definitely did at a time. The problem with it, and being careful what I say here, but
Yeah.
it's very difficult. It's a long road.
That's good to hear
And
because I'd hate for it to be easy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I just thought I'm quite happy to become an advanced MSK podiatrist rather than a full podiatric surgeon. I would have had to move here, there, and everywhere, which obviously I did anyway.
Yeah.
It just was it, and there's never a. Ultimately, I knew I was going to be on the Wirral, like I'll be residing eventually on the Wirral forever because my partner's here. So I knew that would never have happened. I would have had to basically set up my own pod surgery unit, which, of course, never say never, nothing's impossible, but it
Mm.
was just quite a difficult one, really. And I thought I can do maybe just as well to do advanced MSK podiatry, basically.
Okay. So where you live now, is that where you were brought up as well?
Yeah, so this
So
is
you,
where I'm
so
from.
you haven't moved. You've pretty much just
Yeah, so I
stayed
moved.
in the same place.
Yeah, so I moved to the Lake District for 3 years.
Yeah.
So I've still got my house up there, and that was great. I absolutely loved that. But my partner didn't move with me because he's a builder and was building his own sort of life and career down here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was always going to be that I would come back essentially. But if he'd have moved with me up to the Lake District, I probably would have stayed there for a lot longer.
I suppose it's one of those things that if you really like where you live, even if you're born and bred there, then that's just where you live.
Yeah,
That's basically it.
yeah.
Why move?
I know. It's great. I mean, it's so sociable. Like my mum and dad have a fantastic retired life. It's perfect to bring up children when that time comes. So it ticks literally all the boxes. Why change? In fairness, the Lake District did as well. It was fantastic, the Lake District, and obviously the surroundings there are just insane. But yeah, it was the same here. I just had all my family and friends as well.
Yeah. And I take it being on the water like that, do you get snow?
Do you know what? We did get snow in January quite badly. And for the first time ever, I literally saw massive icebergs almost in the sea.
Oh,
It was
geez.
obviously severe.
Yeah.
Normally, no, we're the last to get it because we're by the coast. But this year it was very severe. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It was like something out of a film.
Yeah. Well, because I asked someone that about Liverpool before I went over in February, because they said February is usually really cold. And I said, oh,
Yeah,
will it snow? And they went, yeah, unlikely. They said, it's too cold to snow.
yeah,
They said, it'll
yeah.
probably rain, but we had perfect weather while I was there.
We did. We
It
did.
was,
We
it
had
was
absolutely
spectacular.
amazing weather. Yeah.
Kept saying, I don't know what you guys complain about all the time. The weather over here is perfect.
No, that's false.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I know.
you were lucky you brought the sunshine over because normally we don't get that. We've only just had a nice week this week out of like 6 months of horrendous rain and cold. So yeah, we're lucky that we had that in Liverpool.
Okay, you're in the NHS, you're doing all that, you've moved up the grades of the levels.
Yeah.
What made you decide that all of a sudden you go, bugger this, I'm going to do my own thing? Why did you set up
So
your own business?
So mine's a little bit different. So I was almost pushed out, not from the NHS at all. That was amazing. I absolutely loved the team I worked with. I had a brilliant time there. But in the UK, I don't know if there's any similarities in Australia, but the interest rates for mortgages have gone sky high, basically. And my mortgage doubled up there for my house. So it was completely unaffordable eventually. And at the time, it was awful.
What sort of interest rates are you talking about?
So I was on 1.98% and it went to 5.95%. So it
Okay.
was a big jump.
I think ours
So
are always around 5, 6,
are
something like
they?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But your wages are better.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. You don't. podiatry in the UK isn't as
No,
well paid as it is overseas.
no. Yeah. So it basically made me, I could have carried on, but I would have had absolutely no life. I would have just been able to just about pay for my petrol for my car,
Yeah.
basically. So it was just, what do I do? Do I stick it out and stay here miserable, basically, because I don't have a life? Or do I go back to the Wirral, which, like I said before, I had my partner there. So ultimately, I was always going to settle back there anyway. This was probably just quite premature for me. So I decided, because I knew as well that the role I had in the Lakes, I couldn't get on the Wirral. There just wasn't that side of things. They don't have podiatrists in the musculoskeletal team. They only have physios. And I just thought, I don't want to go down. I don't want to de-skill. And I thought, I'll just start my own. I did always have that in mind anyway. I always wanted to start my own. But like I said, it was just a bit premature, probably. But I just thought, well, now's the time. And then I started looking for premises. And one came up that was just perfect, and I just could not say no to it. Right in the centre of West Kirby, which is the town that I was brought up in.
Yeah.
There is another podiatrist in that town, but they're on the other side. So it was perfect because it was on the opposite end. So it just all ticked the boxes, really.
And from
And I
opening your
just,
doors, from the time of opening your doors, it's just been plain sailing the whole time, just
yeah,
high after high, which is what
yeah,
business ownership's all about. It's just we get in there. This is what, because employees would probably be listening and go, yeah, I know exactly what it's like for the
yeah.
employers. It's just you open the doors, the money just comes rolling in through that front door. And then it's almost like that indecent proposal. You're just rolling around on all these £100 notes, whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. Yeah, maybe in my dreams when I
Yeah.
sleep. But no, do you know what? I listen to a lot of podcasts. Obviously, that's how I know you. And there's one with, I don't know if Emma Greed. She's a guest dragon on Dragon's Den, which is like, I don't know if you got Shark Tank over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that. And she co-owns Skims and Good American with the Kardashians, but she's the brains behind it, really. And she says this statement that's like, when you're running a business, you've got to accept the rule of thirds. And it's a third of the time it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Mm.
Another third of the time it's going to be just okay. And then another third of the time it's going to be really quite awful and you're going to really want to give up. And honestly, it's so true.
It's
Like
very
one day
close.
you will be, yeah, sky high. You'll think, oh, I am amazing. I've done such a good job. And then the next day, something will happen where you go, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. What am I going to do? And yeah, it was so true. But if you have that in your mind and you accept that rule of thirds, that, you're not always going to be really happy and everything's plain sailing, then it's a lot easier to accept it and just find a solution when you do come up against something.
It's true. Yeah, because it's when I did my talk, happiness and achievement. And even in that, I said, it doesn't mean you can choose to be a happy podiatrist, but it doesn't mean that every moment, every day, you're going to be rainbows and unicorns. It just doesn't happen that way. You have days where you want to go in there and throw something around, you're just losing your shit. And it can sometimes it can be the smallest thing that bugs you the most,
So true.
but because it's a buildup of little things that you may have let go, and then it'll be the silliest little thing that just sets you off. And then everyone goes,
Yeah,
and then your employees look at you like you're a lunatic. And they go, you don't get it. You don't get what it's like to run a
I
business
know.
sometimes.
No, I know. It's super hard. I didn't underestimate it, but I was maybe a little bit naive as to how you ran it and how much you needed to know about everything. Literally everything. You can't not know about one aspect of your business, otherwise you relinquish control from it. So you need to know about everything, and that takes time. Like each part of your business is a degree in itself that people have spent years learning, and you're trying to learn it in this short amount of time and do it well. So it is hard.
And that's why people need to, because somebody posted, oh, I think it was in the UK group, and they posted a question about, oh, can someone give me some business advice to make my business
Mm,
better? And I'm thinking, wow, that's a very broad question.
yeah.
And I think I commented and said, just because initially there's a lot of people I would class them as freeple, and they're people that just want free stuff all the time. Don't want to pay for anything. They just want free stuff.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I'm going, listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
watch YouTube videos. You got a question on something, just type it into Google and read information. Then eventually you might have to part with some money and buy a book,
Yeah.
or you might have to pay and go to a marketing workshop and spend a little bit that way. And then down the track, then if you need a business coach, then go and get a business coach. But don't, if you know jack shit about anything, don't just go and get a business coach, because there's a lot of free stuff out there first. I think you should dive into that. And then when you
Yeah.
go, okay, now I'm ready to just really take this business on, then go and look for somebody.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And at the start, because you've got no money, I mean, I had nothing.
Yeah.
I did it on a complete shoestring. I was just like ringing friends and, oh, your dad does this, doesn't. I was trying to just get help from anyone I could. And that really helps. You'll get people who genuinely want to help you. If you've got good people around you, obviously,
Oh,
if you've
hell
got
yeah.
idiots, then but I've got now like three people that I just rang and said, look, is there any chance that you could give me some advice on this particular topic, be niche about it? And then now I speak to them once a month and we have a meeting about certain topics because they've just said, oh, yeah, I'm happy to help you. Like to me, for me, them helping me is nothing to them because
Yeah.
they've got such a big job in that area. So you'll be surprised if people listening to this, if they are thinking of starting, just ring round people that you know and see if they'll help you. If they say no, they're too busy, then fine, you've tried. But definitely when you've got no money at the start, pull on whoever you can contact wise to
Yeah.
help you because
We used to have people just turn up at they'd contact me and
mm,
they'd say, oh, I'm going to be in Cairns for a holiday, thinking about setting up my own business. Is there any chance I can come in to your clinic for a couple of hours? Yeah, come on in.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
come in, I give them sheets and forms. And because I'm just thinking, well, if you still got to do the work. And
yeah,
I'd say to them, take photos if you want, just do whatever you want. I said, because I'm not worried about you taking anything from here.
no,
I said, there's
no.
no trade. What the real secrets I've got hidden away, you won't see them. But all the stuff on the surface, all the stuff on the surface, if it sparks an idea or helps in some way, I think it's the best thing to do. And through my whole career, everywhere I traveled to, if there was a podiatrist in that town, I would go bang on their door
Yeah,
and contacting them beforehand to say, hey, can I just drop in for a coffee?
yeah,
And 50% of the time, I got a yes, 50% no.
yeah, yeah.
And
That it surprises me it's 50-50 because I would have thought more people would have said yes.
I think it just
Um,
depends. It could have been they were away on holidays or they were busy,
yeah,
but majority, at least 50% of the time, people just went, oh, yeah, that'd be fantastic. And
yeah,
because this is when I was first starting out, especially they're like, oh, who the hell are you? And I think podiatrists going back 20, 30 years ago were far more paranoid than what they are.
yeah, yeah,
Because
definitely.
20, 30 years ago, everyone was just, they were so protective of their turf. If you came
Mm,
into their town, it was like a gang war. It was terrible.
yeah,
I thought now would be a perfect time just to dive in and let everybody know that I am now offering hourly coaching sessions. I've had a number of podiatrists reach out to me recently who didn't want to be part of a larger coaching organization and didn't want to do ongoing monthly coaching. And this has become really, really popular. I didn't realize how many podiatrists would be interested in this. So if there's an aspect of your business, whether it's could be a marketing question, it might be something to do with a team member. You might want to know how to attract the right podiatry team member to your business. Doesn't matter what it is. If you want to talk to me, you can block out an hourly session. And yes, it is a paid hourly session. If you go to my website, tysonfranklin.com, all the information is there. And from there, you can click on the link and you can book in an hourly session with me. And I've been in the podiatry industry for well over 35 years now. I have owned multiple businesses and there's not too much I have not seen. And I continue to go to business conferences myself so that I can adapt that knowledge to help podiatrists better. So go to my website, tysonfranklin.com. If you want to do an hourly session with me and not commit to any long-term ongoing coaching sessions, please get in touch with me. Okay, let's get back to this interview.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different. The podiatrist that I mentioned that is in West Kirby as well, I used to do the odd shift for her. and she texted me wishing me luck and said, is there anyone I can send to you? It's just so different. And in fact, another podiatrist of hers went and opened up a couple of towns down, and we speak quite regularly. So it just doesn't need to be like that, does it? It doesn't need to be,
No.
oh, let's just not speak to anyone. That's just not the best way to do it at all.
And I think the other thing, we were talking just off air before I press record about the foot and ankle show, and
Yeah,
just the quality of the podiatrists that go to the foot and ankle show in Liverpool
yeah,
is just
yeah.
completely different. So if you've gone to an association conference, like, I can't speak for society ones, but I know in Australia, the association conferences, if you've gone to one of them, you've gone, oh, I don't want to go to another one because it was just full of professors, associate professor, PhD, this, and they were talking about the most irrelevant stuff. The foot and ankle show is not like that. It is completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, no, it was such a breath of fresh air. And the talks, like, don't get me wrong, research, etc., has its place, but the talks were so actionable. Like, you could take away so many points and be like, do you know what, I'm going to apply that straight away. Whereas
Well, they
sometimes it's a
still
bit,
had they did have some research talks at the foot and ankle show,
yeah, they
but they
did.
explained the research and then they said, oh, and this is how you could probably use it in your practice. It was still,
Exactly.
you could apply it. It wasn't just,
Yeah.
this is the one that I always tell people now. I may have said this in a couple of podcasts recently, was next time you go to an association conference and the first person that comes up who's a associate professor or PhD person, and they put the first slide up and they say, I know you can't read this, but, and then they proceed to just read what's on the slide. They then turn their back to you and they start reading what's on the slide, which you could quite easily do yourself. But it's
Yeah.
like having one of those little talking books and you just wait for the little ding to turn the page. Then they go to the next one. And there's all these graphs. Now, I know you can't read these graphs and they may not make any sense whatsoever. And then they start explaining it. And then they finish after their 40 minutes, they'll finish with, like, I know this has actually been proven in a clinical situation. Thank you. And they get up and leave. You just go,
I know what?
go, what was that? And
Yeah.
then they'll leave and the next one will come up. I know you can't
Yeah.
read this slide. And then they'll turn their back on you and they'll just start reading through it. And I think everyone's tired. Last year in Australia, they had a conference, the lower limb conference.
Oh,
And I think
yeah.
there were about 150 people went to that. And so much positive feedback from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super positive. So I can actually see in the future, this is where podiatrists head, foot and ankle show, lower limb conference,
Yeah.
these smaller events where people can, they want to hang around people. They don't want to constantly see research.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's got its place. And I did see
Definitely.
some good talks when I went to the other conferences, but I do also know what you mean from the other one.
Death by PowerPoint. Oh,
Yeah, death by PowerPoint. And of course, on the foot and ankle show, it's about half an hour, isn't it? So they're done like that. All of a
yeah.
sudden, you're done, and you go, "Oh my God, I've got more questions. I want them to carry on."
Yeah, I think that,
Where
yeah, I think majority of the talks were half an hour and
yeah,
and then there were a few that were 40. But my first one was 40 minutes. My second one was 30
yeah,
minutes.
yeah. So it goes so fast.
It goes even faster when you're on the stage and you're trying to make
Uh,
sure you get through everything. Yeah. Ask
Yeah.
Jonathan Small how
Yours,
fast it
yours were
goes.
jam packed. Yours were
Yeah.
jam packed, particularly the second one. I was
uh,
thinking,
but even Jonathan, when he did his, it was a fantastic talk. But the
yeah,
time just went so fast on him. And
yeah,
he's up there 1 minute jumping around in his
I
rabbit
know.
costume,
Bless him.
which looked fantastic, I must admit. He should wear that again next time. And
Yeah,
and next thing I'm looking down at my watch and I'm going, that 40 minutes went so fast.
I know it does.
And I
It
found
really, really.
I found a lot of the talks, especially the 30-minute ones, they were up there talking and you were really involved in what they were talking about. And the next thing, somebody go, okay, any questions? You're like, oh, geez,
Yeah,
okay, they went fast.
I know they were, but they were brilliant, and like I say, all really actionable. Dead hard to pick sometimes which one you wanted to go to. So it was
Well,
fantastic.
it was hard because I was speaking and there was one that was on at the same time that I was actually speaking on one of the other
Mm.
ones. And I went, oh, I can't even go to it.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, if I'm being really honest, so yours, we were looking at the brochure the night before, me and John, and it was, what was the title of your first one? How to be happy
Oh, happiness and achievement are independent
is it?
variables.
Yeah. And I was like, oh God, I'm not going to that. I was like, I can't action anything. I was like, that's not going to be useful at all.
Oh,
Um,
what a load of crap that's going to
I
be.
know, yeah, what a load of rubbish,
What
like
bullshit. Who
arty
put this one
farting.
on? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what it did. And that was sort of, even when I put the title together, I'm thinking there's going to be certain people who look at that and go, oh, piss off. I don't need to see that
yeah,
shit.
I know. I was
I'm
like, I don't
happy.
need that.
I don't need that
Yeah,
shit because I'm
yeah.
happy.
I know. Anyway,
So you missed it.
John was like, no, come on. No, I went to it.
Oh,
Went to it, and John was like, no, come on. I think you do need it. Probably giving me a hint.
yeah. Yeah, you do need it
And
because they're kicking the shit around in the room. Oh, this is
yeah,
crap. I
yeah,
don't need that stuff.
I know. And I went to it. It was honestly my favorite talk.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
it was so good. And I'm not just saying that. We both went away and was like, God. And that's why we came up to you, because we were like, that was exactly what we needed to hear.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
That's when I met you was actually after the
yeah,
talk when I was outside.
yeah, yeah. So being completely honest, begrudgingly went to that, but I absolutely loved it.
Well,
And
can I
for
tell you
John,
something? All the talks I've
yeah,
ever done, every talk I've ever done in my life, that was the favorite talk I've ever done, was that particular
really,
subject. I
yeah,
I I absolutely loved putting it together. I loved presenting it. I could feel the energy in the room when I was having people doing
yeah,
certain things. And when it
mm,
ended, I could just see everybody just went, oh, that was
yeah,
not what I was expecting. They actually got more out of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And for John, who I think we told you at the time, you might not remember, but he left the podiatry profession for a couple of years, and I've kind of dragged him back,
Yeah.
like, come work with me, it'll be fun. And yeah, and that was kind of, he was in that, you talked about like the sort of pessimist podiatrist who just moans, and he was like, I was getting into that realm, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, you better not do that with me. But it was so good for us both in for just such different reasons. But for him, I definitely think it really helped him.
Yeah. But like I said, even me putting it together, it really made me think about what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And it was from that when I was talking to Jonathan Small, because I was showing him the presentation beforehand. And he said, I didn't know you like donkeys. I said, I love donkeys. They're so
Love
cool.
that. Yeah.
And he
I
went,
love
oh,
alpacas, so I really related.
watch out, they
But
spit.
yeah,
Don't they spit?
yeah.
Don't alpacas spit?
No, that's llamas. Llamas
Oh,
aren't very nice. Alpacas are much more lovely. So you could walk them in the Lake District, and I've lived right next to an alpaca farm,
yeah.
and it was just amazing. They were my friends when I walked past them and would stroke them sometimes. They were just gorgeous. So yeah, I related to when you said you love donkeys, because I was like, that's like me with
Well, yeah,
alpacas.
when Jonathan heard that, he goes, well, actually, I know the vet that works at the donkey sanctuary down near Sidmouth. And we
With you.
went, oh, okay. So we went down there and there was 197 donkeys. And that was so cool. I got some great photos of them. But I was at a conference, this one I go to in Arizona every year, Business Black Ops. And at a certain time on the Friday, we go out to the guy's ranch and we sit there under this big shade thing out in the middle of the desert. And that's where we do our last talks for the day. And we're in the middle of talking, and all of a sudden you hear, ee-oh, ee-oh. And we're all looking around. And when it finished, I went up to Dave. I said, hey, Dave, where's that donkey noise come from? He says, oh, uh, the ranch next door, they look after donkeys, bring them in from the wild, they tame them, they make them friendly, and then they sell them to families
Oh,
as pets. And I went,
yeah.
oh, we've got to do it. So we went over there. I got some great photos with this donkey called Franklin, which was appropriate.
Oh, well. Yeah. Obvious
But
reasons. Yeah.
yeah, that was when I was putting that talk together, and I was thinking about I need to put some photos in there of what makes me happy to give people an idea of just happiness can be so many different things. So me,
Mm,
donkeys, playing the guitar, being in water, anywhere near water,
yeah.
or my favorite place on the Gold Coast. Just it's one of my happy places. But yeah,
Yeah.
eating ice cream makes me happy.
Yeah. Eating chocolate for me, definitely.
Yeah, it's not always the healthiest thing, but it's
No.
and actually, yeah, what was funny with Jonathan Sport, we both figured out that he said to me, "What's your favorite breakfast?" And I said, "Oh, we have anything. I just eat ice cream." So because
For breakfast.
our wives aren't around, so we had ice cream for breakfast each morning. And
No.
what we had breakfast, yeah, we had an ice cream every morning, and but we were sort of just laughing. And what I realized, the other thing that makes me happy, eating ice cream with another person who loves ice cream,
Yeah.
and just seeing the smile on their face while they're eating it makes you realize how you probably look when you're eating it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so right. I mean, that's why couples go out for food, isn't it? And they
Yeah.
get little snacks later on because they're both enjoying it, isn't it? So yeah, I completely relate to that.
So I'm glad you enjoyed the talk then.
Yeah, it was fantastic, really good.
Were there any other ones from the Foot and Ankle Show that really stood out to you?
Katie was really good from Thrive Business.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, she was fantastic.
yeah,
Really
she
good
was really
talker as
interesting.
well. Yeah, yeah, really, really good. And then was it Cliff with the trainers? I thought that was really interesting. A Veritop one, just one on a product was really interesting because I use that in practice. So yeah, there was loads,
I
absolutely
think
loads.
that was a difference with that conference, because you've got business talks. Mine wasn't really a business talk, but you had like mindset talk.
Yeah,
You had a couple of research talks, but you had companies that had their products there, but then explaining how they use the product and then how you could use it and introduce it into your business. It's very unique.
yeah, yeah. No, it was great. I would definitely recommend it for anyone starting out privately or even the NHS if you dabble in private practice as well. It's so useful.
So I reckon the other good part with it for me too is I've had about 6 or 7 people from the Foot and Ankle Show on the podcast.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
me, it's
So
a great
you,
way. It's a great way of finding about 3 or 4 months worth of guests.
yeah, you've recruited.
I can go around and go, I'm going to take you, and I'll take you. You'll work.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to talk to you. No, that didn't happen at all. The so, but with
I
your
bet it did.
business, with your
Hmm.
business, and you said there's been highs and there's been lows and there's ups and downs and there's 1/3
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. It's going to be times where you're going to get really annoyed. Can you share? Was there a low point or something that has ever happened in your business?
Yeah.
You sort of went, "Wow, I wasn't
There's
expecting
so
it,"
many.
or yeah, what's something you
Uh,
could without going into anything too personal? Was it just something that surprised
yeah.
you?
I mean, the fact that when you start, like you just want to reinvest everything. You want to make the practices as great as possible.
Mm,
And that's probably not the right thing to do. So you don't have a wage, obviously, when you first start business. You don't, you're supposed to give yourself one, obviously.
mm,
But in reality, if you can not give yourself one, which so I started by Airbnb my house in the Lake District. That's how I started the business because I was like, right, well, I've got the income from Airbnb and I can just go absolutely hell for leather on this business and just reinvest everything, try and get as much as possible. So obviously you're doing all these hours under the sun and actually you're not really getting much back for it at first. So that's hard. Sometimes you'll have friends come in, friends who want discounts and things. That's quite hard to be like, oh, well, actually,
yeah,
you should be supporting me, which most of them do. But there's just loads. It's the volume of work. So you'll just get all of a sudden, you'll just get overwhelmed and go, oh my God, I have got so much to do. There's not enough of me. Like I need two, three more of me.
yeah,
And now I've tried to really prioritize what I want to do. So you think when you start, you want to just, oh, I need to market. I need to just get new patients through the door. And like you do to an extent. But really, when they come in, you want like a really good process. You want a really good onboarding process. You want to give them the best service possible because those first few that come in are going to be your marketers.
yeah.
Um, so that's what you want to concentrate at first is getting a really nice, smooth process. So I'm concentrating on that at the moment, trying to get like my operations in order and not putting as much into the marketing as I thought I should. I will at some stage put a lot into marketing, but I just want to get it really slick first. And it's nearly there. Like I feel
It's a
like it's
good
doing
idea
well.
though, because when you're having those
Yeah,
first few people coming through, you can't create it. Like you can sit there and read about systems, but it's not until the person comes through your practice
yeah,
that the system starts either working. And the idea should be to create a system and try and break it,
yeah,
because when you
yeah,
break it, you can fix it. And every time you
Prove it.
fix it, it gets better and better.
Yeah.
And I agree. If you market too hard at the beginning and you get too many patients and you don't have a chance to actually get the groundwork in for those systems,
Yeah.
and that's why it's that fine line between you need to get as much free information as you can. But I reckon when you can
Yeah.
afford it, that's when you start looking at business coaching, even if it's part time or it's sporadically just
Mhm.
getting someone for a short period of time and then having a break, getting someone for a short period
Yeah.
of time, having a break.
Yeah.
Because to me, there's a couple of different, I call them patient journeys. And it's
Mhm.
everything that happens, part A, everything that happens before the patient ever walks through the door is one journey. Well, it's actually 7 parts to this, but I'm going to break it down to 3. The next part is from the time they walk through the door to the time they finish their treatment. And then the next journey is what happens to them after they've actually left your clinic and they've gone on from there. So
Yeah.
there's 3 different journeys that you need to tap into.
Yeah.
And that's where sometimes you need help.
Yeah. Definitely.
But initially that first part, just you gotta work through things, you gotta stuff things up.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I'm such a perfectionist, always have been, and that obviously holds you back in business because you can't start a podiatry business fully baked. Like it's not going to be perfect when you first start it, and you've got to be okay with that. You've just got to accept it, and you're going to constantly improve things. Like I'm constantly changing things. I'm constantly adding questions and changing questions on my feedback forms, etc because I want to know different things that they've enjoyed from the experience and where we can basically improve to be at the point where we're the absolute best in the area.
mm,
So yeah, you just got to let it sort of be. But when you start and accept it's not going to be perfect, but just constantly be at your systems to improve them.
yeah, I think you
That's
just
what I
gotta
would say.
be aware of it. I don't know, have you ever built a house? I know your partner has.
So that's probably, to be honest, that's probably the harder part at the moment for me. Although
Yeah,
I'm starting a podiatry business, we're also building a house, which just to make it really fun, as well as running an Airbnb.
may as well.
So yeah, may as well just throw it all on there. And that's the harder part. So by day, I'm a podiatrist. By evening and weekend, I'm a labourer. So I literally get my scrubs off, put my trackies on, and go and move brick, take chimney stacks down. And I'm physically and mentally exhausted, as you can imagine. But that's probably the harder part because we're doing that alongside our full-time jobs. And weather's not been great around here, so that set us back. So that's been harder, to be honest.
Yeah, because I reckon one of the things about building a house, though, like building and developing your business,
Yeah.
is I remember we built our first house. Yeah, my wife and I got the house built. When we built the next one, we learnt from the first one of the
Yes, exactly.
mistakes we made. But even when the
Yeah.
house was completely finished, we moved in, and all of a sudden you go, why didn't we put a PowerPoint here? I mean,
Yeah.
this is the most logical place to have put a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Why is the PowerPoint all the way over there? Or why is there only one?
I know.
Why didn't we could have put 10 in here? Because there's so many
Yeah.
things. And the other part is when we built this house, where we are now 21 years ago, I didn't, I don't know if we had the internet then or not. And we didn't have every single thing that ran on a USB cable. So the house you designed 21 years ago to now, things have evolved and changed. You need to have electricians come back and rewire things. So to me, that's exactly what happens in your business. As your
Exactly.
patients come through and as they develop and change, you must develop and change your business with it.
100%. 100%. It's so true. It's funny because we're at that point with the wiring. We've done the kitchen and we were having arguments about, no, you need to put that there. And now we're in the bathroom. I'm like, well, we want LEDs in the alcove, don't we? And it's just so funny because you overthink so many things when you're starting, but you'll get it wrong. Something will be wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
You can change it as time goes on. And you're absolutely right. It's exactly the same with the practice. Like I built the practice so it was completely open plan and we built 3 clinic rooms. So again, we had that just before the house. And yeah, it was the same thing. It was like, where do I put everything? I drew it out like 3, 4 times before we fully went for it. But it's the same, like running the practice. I'm constantly changing things. I'm putting new shelving in the back, like ripping some down that I put up only 6 months ago
Yeah.
because I'm not happy with where it is. It's just, yeah, once you're in, you realize like how you want to work and things, and you can't do it until you're riding the horse, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's really good that you brought that up though, just about the things just evolving and changing with you
Yeah,
as you're actually growing the business. And if you try and do it too fast, if you just have a
yeah,
ton of money, then you go, oh, it's going to throw it all in the Google ads and bring all these new
yeah,
patients in. You'll have a lot of unhappy patients leaving because
yeah,
you've let them down in certain ways. So you better to do it a little
yeah.
bit slow and do it right. And then
Mm.
once you get the foundations in there, just really take off with it. Have you seen that movie Founder?
Yes, yeah. So that was a big thing. So I've listened to a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts, read books on like systems for businesses. So yeah, so you're talking about McDonald's, obviously,
Yeah.
and the way it was run, and obviously why teenagers can just run it basically now because they've got such good systems in place that they can just come in, they do a training program, they've got certain protocols for certain, like a Big Mac.
Yeah, it's a $1 billion business
Yeah,
run by teenagers that parents can't
yeah,
even get to clean their bedroom, yet they're
yeah,
running this $1 billion corporation
yeah,
just
yeah.
by following
And
systems.
that's exactly what I'm trying to apply to the practice because I don't want it to be, you'll know, obviously, as a business coach, I don't want it to be reliant upon me eventually. I want it to be to run with other podiatrists who are just as good and can deliver the same service as if it was their own business because
Mm.
you've also got to accept as a business owner that not everyone's going to be as passionate as you. It's just a job for some people and they're never going to be quite as passionate as the business owner. But you, by putting systems in place, you can make them just as good and deliver just as good of a service.
Yeah, it's true. I know there's some people that go, "Oh, I hate systems. My employer's trying to control me," and they go,
No.
"No, we're just trying to stop you hurting yourself."
Yeah,
Yeah, or
yeah.
hurting the business. I've done a few talks on creating systems, a couple of webinars, and it's to me, it's a system is almost like choreography in a dance.
Mm,
You you
absolutely.
you work out the choreography, everybody trains, and then when you do the performance, everyone's going in the right direction at the right time. And you're not falling all over each other. You don't sort of go, hey, let's do a dance to this song, throw it up there,
Yeah.
throw everyone on stage, and everyone just be running into each other.
Yeah. Well, it's why we have clinical guidelines, you have
Yeah.
protocols for certain conditions. It's so that people don't make mistakes and that we're all singing off the same hymn sheet. And it completely makes sense. Otherwise, you're just here, there, and everywhere, and it's a chaotic business and it will probably fail. You could scrape by, but it's not the best approach, definitely. So, systems, like you say, they're there for the safety of the practice, for the
Mm.
longevity of the practice and the practitioner.
And I always think if there's an employee who just bangs ahead, he just says, I just hate systems, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because to me, like you said, not every podiatrist has the same passion. And if you've got a dud podiatrist, they're probably going to be a dud in everything they do. It's
Yeah.
just some people, it's just in their DNA. If you look through the little coils, there's dud. They've got the dud
Yeah.
gene.
Duh, 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 duh.
Yeah, it comes in. There's like a piece missing. And it's just, oh, that's
Yeah.
the dud gene. It's invisible. There's just, it gets to that point, nothing works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're all around. I referred them. I can't remember what talk I was doing. Oh, that's when I was doing my reboot talk. And I referred them as bobbleheads.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, but yeah, when you see people and they're standing at traffic lights and they just yeah, their heads just
Yeah.
bobbling. Like there's really no thought going in. You see them walking down the street, they're just looking at the phone
Yeah.
and they're going to get run over eventually. You don't even try and
Yeah.
stop. Just let them walk out.
We say the lights are on, but no one's home.
Yeah.
I
It's,
always say that.
and to me,
It's
it's not just podiatry. Every profession has them. And I think
mm,
if you unfortunately happen to employ one, the sooner you can just let them go and work for another bobblehead,
yeah.
then they are going to be much happier working in a place that has no systems, that isn't run very well, where they have a 3.1 Google rating and the employer doesn't care because doesn't look at them. Nobody asks for Google
Yeah.
reviews. They probably get more Google reviews than everybody else, but they're all bad ones.
Yeah.
And yeah, and look for the person that is, no, it's got that little bit of spark in their eye. They're out there
Yeah.
everywhere.
They are. And I've always said in your job, I find so many podiatrists, they complain like, yeah, there's people that we've trained with and they've left the profession and just complain. I'm like, did you try? Like in your job, did you like I'd say self-actualize? Did you actually like put yourself forward for things like try and weave your way into things that you actually enjoy within the job? Because often you're not given it straight away unless you actually go to your manager and ask these things and ask, oh, could I maybe do that? I've literally done that since I started, and that's why I was allowed to do talks straight away, presentations, etc. I was allowed to run certain things for getting new equipment, etc. And it just makes your job so much better, so much more
Mm.
satisfying. It's like if you just sit there and do nothing like a bobblehead, then you're going to feel like you're nothing, and then you won't like your job. You've got to push yourself forward, and it's up to you. It's not really up to the employer because they don't know unless they know that you're unhappy or you want to do something else. And I've always thought, why do people do that? Why do people like your talk? Why do they get unhappy and a bit like a Scrooge to podiatry? When have they tried? I know some have and they genuinely don't like it,
Oh
but
yeah,
have you
and
actually
I get that.
self-forward? Yeah,
I've heard people where they've left jobs because their boss wouldn't let them do whatever. And
yeah,
then I've
yeah,
spoken to that boss might be a year later at a different event, and I'll go, oh, I heard that they really like this. And they go, oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
If I had known that, I would have actually had them doing it because I
yeah,
don't like doing it. And I'm thinking,
yeah,
oh, if they had just spoken, they said they left for that
exactly.
reason. The other person said, I wish they had stayed and told me. So I think
Yeah.
communication between employers and then the employer
Mm.
needs to be really
Yeah.
open. They really need to talk more.
Yeah. I mean, me and John now, because he is getting back into it, he's only just started treating patients again. We literally have a debrief after every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you feeling about it? Is there anything that you struggled with today? Is there anything that I can do? What else can I get for you that will help you to feel better within the clinic? And he straight away, he said, well, I never got that in the NHS. So I think straight away that's just changed his mindset towards podiatry. It's like it's not podiatry, it's where you worked, it's maybe not getting the support you want and maybe not approaching them enough to say, look, I'm struggling with the so yeah, like you say, communication is massive.
And that comes back to the happiness thing too. Like I used to have my guitar in my consultation room. So
Mm,
in between patients, if I had 5 minutes, I'd pick it up and I'd just start playing the guitar.
nice.
The amount of patients that would come in for the next visit and they'd see it sitting in the corner and they go, oh, was that you playing? And I went, yeah. They go, I sounded so nice sitting out in the reception area, just hearing that. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing anything
Oh.
real. I wasn't doing AC/DC or anything. And they go, I was just really not because there'd be certain tunes I'd play in there.
Mm,
But then if I had a kid that came in, he said, oh, do you play the guitar? I go, yeah. They go, oh, so do I. I go, well, when you come in next, bring yours with you. I
yeah.
said, you show me something, I'll show you something.
Mm.
And they go, oh, okay. And it was so much fun. I think the thing I always went with the riff for Tenacious D's
Oh, tribute.
tribute, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my,
Because
yeah.
it's a tricky
That's
one
my
to
karaoke song.
yeah, it's a tricky one to do. But when you show
Yeah,
kids how
it's
to do
good.
it, and as soon as you do it,
Yeah,
they all know the tune straight away. Everybody
yeah,
knows that tune.
yeah. It's
And
fun.
yeah, I can't do much of it after that, but that riff part I can do really well.
Yeah,
And but that made me happy throughout the day. And
yeah,
so I think everyone just needs to find things that puts a smile on their face during the day. Need to be doing things after hours that puts a smile on their face. Maybe not building a house, but
yeah. No, not at the moment. But when I'm in the house, I'll smile.
yeah. But I was the podcast I did with Zane Hussein last week's episode,
Mm.
and then there we were talking about exercise, just how exercise makes you feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't ever regret it. It's funny you say that. So I've now changed my timetable to accommodate exercise in the morning because otherwise I won't do it. I'll talk myself out of it through the day and go, oh, you're too tired from work. So I'll just get up at 6 a.m. and go
Even this
breakfast and
podcast that
stuff
we're
like
doing,
that.
I did exactly the same thing. I've got my day worked out now that I won't start the day till a certain time because I
Yeah.
do Muay Thai in the morning every single day. Whereas I used to go, oh, if somebody books in, then I just won't go. And I was crabby. Whereas now I
Yeah.
go every single day, and my day starts when I come home,
Mm.
jump in the pool, come out, have something to eat, bang, I'm ready to start the day, and I'm in one damn good mood after that.
Absolutely. It makes such a difference. It's unreal. I've even got my mum and dad to it, so I'm really into reformer Pilates. And I think it's just great as you're like getting older to do reformer Pilates. Obviously, weight's better, but they don't like the gym. So I've even got my mum and dad into it. I'm like, come on, come with me to reformer
Yeah.
Pilates. I'm like one of those weirdos that really sort of get everyone into it, and it's a bit of a cult. But I just think it's so good. It makes you feel great, and you definitely need to prioritize it. If you're starting a business,
Oh,
prioritize it.
yeah. And I think people who are saying, "Oh, I would love to do that," but then you're not listening. If
Yeah,
you're using the word "but," you have to look at your schedule. Go, what is it that I want to do?
yeah,
That in your schedule, whether it's exercise in the morning, exercise at the end of the day, you want to take time out during the day and do it, and let your patients fall in around what is the most important stuff to you. I made this mistake. I put the patients first,
yeah,
then
yeah.
and then my family and everything that made me happy fell around that. And I got to the end of the day and I was just a miserable bastard
I know, I
because
know.
I wasn't doing anything for me.
Yeah, yeah, it really makes a difference. I said the same again to John. He goes rock climbing sometimes in the evening, and we had this patient who couldn't come till 5:30, but it was an emergency, like they had a really infected toenail and I needed to see them. And I just said to, because there was no one else there, I said, John, like, you don't need to stay, you go. Like, I already knew he was doing
Yeah.
rock climbing that evening. And he was like, oh no, I can stay, it's fine. And I said, go. I've done my exercise this morning. You need to go and do your thing and be happy. I was like, I've seen this patient before. It's absolutely fine. I know what to do with them. Like, I'll just stay. So it's important for everyone to get
Mm.
in what they actually doing before
Yeah. I
or after
remember
work.
when I used to play touch football before I ruptured
Mm.
my calf twice. But when I was playing touch football, and I remember the game was on at 6 o'clock. I went, that's okay. Last patient's at 5. I'll finish at 5:30. Boom. It's a 20-minute drive. I'll be fine. Anyway,
Yeah,
it gets to about 25 past 5. Patient hasn't turned up. Then all of a sudden she rocks up. He said, I know I'm a bit late. And I went, yeah. I said, that's unfortunate. She said, oh, but I've
yeah,
driven 15 minutes to get here. And I said, well, I can't see you. I said, because I have touch football at 6 o'clock. I said, by the time I
yeah,
see you, and it takes me 20 minutes to get there, I said, I'll miss the beginning of the game. I said, I don't like missing the beginning of the game. And she went, well,
yeah,
what's more important? Yeah, making money or playing touch football? And I went, playing touch football.
yeah.
And she went, oh, you've got the worst attitude. I'm going to go somewhere else. And I went, it's going to make both of
Okay.
us really happy.
Yeah, yeah,
And I refused to see her. And
yeah.
I went and played touch football, and I wouldn't recognize her if I bumped into the street. No idea who she is.
No,
But
no.
I had no regrets the next day. Nothing. I felt good that I actually went and did the exercise as scheduled.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's your priority. You've got to prioritize it. And as soon as you start not doing that and, going, oh, I'll just do this instead with this other patient, then that's just a downhill slope, I think, to burnout.
So, Lucinda, if people wanted to reach out to you, if they wanted to say, this is Lucinda, seems pretty cool. I want to ask her some more questions, or they just want to connect with you, whether it's at social media, whatever. What's the best
Yeah.
way for people to track you down, stalk you
So
while you're sleeping at
Instagram,
night?
yes, Instagram is probably your best bet. So it's Poized Podiatry on Instagram, and that's Poized. So yeah, that's probably your best bet at the moment is my Instagram.
Okay. So, Lucinda, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. This has been fun. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you and John came up and introduced yourself, mentioned that you love Big Jim Mac. He pissed himself laughing, actually, when I showed him the
Did
video.
it?
He thought it was hilarious. And
Do.
I think we mentioned on a recent recording as well.
Oh,
One day
really?
we'll get shirts done with Big Jim Mac on there. So, yeah, Lucinda, thank you for coming on. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.